All right. So the plan is to create a journal club presentation on SGLT versus GLP medications. I have my research paper ready. This AI tool that I'm going to use is booklm.google.com. Once I open it, it might ask you to log in. I've already logged in. So I'm here. Now I'm going to start by creating new. It's going to ask me for a source. The source would be my uploaded file, which is the original article. Once I upload that, I'm going to name it SGLT versus GLP. Right off the bat, I have this set of tools here. I'm going to ask it to create a slide deck. That's why I'm clicking here first. But what I need first is the mind map. Once it's done generating the mind map, I'll use the mind map to go through this paper. Now, mind you, if you have not read this paper earlier, the mind map will not be as helpful. So I suggest reading the paper, at least skimming through it and understanding like what are the parts of it, what is it trying to deal with, what's the research, so on and so forth, right? And then I'll go in, I'll open up the mind map. It is SGLT versus GLP, and then we're talking about kidney outcomes. It gives me these subheadings, and then if I go into study overview, it'll give me like what is the design like, what is the settings, participants, and follow-up of 5 years, right? Whenever there are no arrows here, that means that's the end point. If I click on any of these, then it'll pull up the study and talk to me about this specific thing. For example, if I click on settings, it'll take me to the setting where this study was done. So apparently it was done in Denmark and the nationwide data was used. So let me click on this, and then it'll start reading through the paper and then try to answer this question, right? So it created a question for me, discuss what the sources say about the setting, Denmark nationwide data in the larger context of this study overview. So this is what it came up with, right? Pretty extensive. So if you read through it, I'll try and find wherever like Denmark nationwide data is mentioned throughout the paper, and I'll try to contextualize it, right? The first part of it is just the brief overview of what the study is about, right? I can go back to my mind map and then similarly explore the mind map. Like I said, if you have read through this paper earlier, this would make a lot more sense in terms of like, it'll almost like help you sort of like memorize the paper. Not suggesting you do that, but then I'll almost do that for you if you have read through the paper. And then you can also like take a screenshot of this and then use it in your presentation if you choose to do so. The other part of it that I like the most is if you go back to Studio, all right, you can create a lot of things. Like, for example, this was a paper that you actually want to like digest it, right? Something that you really want to like know through and through. Then you can ask it to create a quiz, and it will create a quiz for you. And then you can use this quiz to test yourself and learn about it more properly, right? It takes some time generating the slide deck, and the slide deck it generates is not in the format which you can use, like you cannot use it to edit it. So it'll just be your first draft, and based on it, you can like create your PowerPoints, which will be much more easier. The other thing that I like the most about this is by choosing a source, essentially, it's like you trained an AI based on this source, right? So it will like never is a strong word, but then it'll try and stay within confines of this article. And if you read through it, it'll like give you, so what are the strengths of the study? What are the limitations? And what are the critical concerns of this study? So it's a very, very good starting point is what I'm trying to get at. So it created me a quiz already. So which study design was utilized in Danish population-based research to compare effectiveness of this versus this? Now I have no idea. I've seen this somewhere. So let's try this design of bus, and then let's do something wrong and see what it does. According to the study finding, which drug class was associated with a lower fibril? It's for sure not metformin monotherapy, so let's choose that and tell, so this is wrong, but this is right, and this is why it is right, and stuff like that. So a very, very good way of going through a research paper after you sort of like skim through it, right? Now, it's still taking some time to generate the slide deck, so we'll wait for that. And while we wait for that, let us ask it to create. Now, you can create audio overview and listen to it. It'll generate a podcast for you, and then It's a very good podcast to listen to, like almost natural. That usually be two hosts, so one male and one female, and they'll discuss this article with each other. You can always drop in, like you call in the podcast and then ask them a specific question and they'll try to answer you. And so it's really nice. Let's generate a report, various kinds of reports. So let's generate a briefing doc based on this study, and then we will see what goes on there. So the briefing doc has been generated. Has the briefing this many participants, this many nationality, this many in the timeline, population characteristics, primary kidney outcome, secondary outcomes. That already is a very succinct description of what the study is about, what it found, and then that will give you a very good starting point to understanding this study much deeper. Now it's still generating the slide for me, so we will wait for some time. Once like read through this article, you can tell it to create an outline for PowerPoint presentation. That there are 15 slides, very succinct and to the point. This will do is it'll create you just the outline, just the text of what you can put in your slides. Slide 1, title and reference. Slide 2, background and knowledge gap. Study objective. That gives you a very interesting presentation of this whole. And the best part is all of it is referenced. For example, gets this part of the slide from, and you can always cross-check it, right? It will always give you, where did it get this information from? And now that it has finished making the slides, we can open the slides, right? And then, so this is what it came up with. These are pretty good slides. You would not want to present anything that's wrong, and it's still an AI, so you'd have to cross-check everything it says here. And if you read through the paper first, then, I mean, you already can figure out what is right and what is wrong here. So once you are satisfied with these slides, you can take a few of these slides itself in your PowerPoint, or if you just want to get inspired by it and then create your own PowerPoint, you can do that, right? So that is how you can use NotebookLM, a very powerful tool, and I've not shown of it. You can create audio overviews and video overviews. That's what we can do